Hello everybody, it's time for a Forex trading update. It's been about 11 days since my last update, and I did have 12 trades in. They all did close out in profit. I'm going to go over those today, how they closed out, why, and so you can see clearly of why my system continues to work very well when it comes to counter trend trading. Now I showed the trades in my last video on the 11th and what they looked like, and mentioned about the 5 trades in on the Aussie CAD and that I had a few trades in on the NZD CAD and some on the pound CAD. So I was pretty much had trades in on all pairs, and they all closed out, and they all closed out very nicely too. And so the 5 trades, what they looked like closed out on the Aussie CAD. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they all closed out at this point. Now 3 of them were in small profit and 2 of them were in larger loss. And so overall this basket was closed in the negative on this pair, just on the Aussie CAD. But on the New Zealand CAD, that's a different story. I did have 5 trades as well, but the pullback was much larger, and this basket of trades closed out in a much larger profit than typical, making up for the loss on the Aussie CAD. Excuse me. If you're wondering what's going on here, both of these trades closed out, or all these trades, so the 5 on the NZD CAD and the 5 on the Aussie CAD, all closed out at the same exact time. So market time, when it comes to the market watch window up here, which my picture is probably blocking, but they close at the same time. So that's how basket trading is that if you have 5 trades or 10 trades in at the same time, and eventually they all go into overall profit, then they'll all close out in a positive basket. And so that's what happened, is that my Aussie CAD and NZD CAD trades were working together. And that means that once they are in drawdown and they're going into drawdown, they go into drawdown together. So that can be tricky if you don't have the right risk management. But if you are able to handle drawdown like that, that means that when things start to move in your favor, then they will be twice as fast because you're using 2 different pairs. And these pairs are somewhat correlated. They're not like exactly correlated, but that means that when one goes into drawdown, the other one typically goes into drawdown as well, but when one goes into profit, the other one also potentially goes into profit. And so it's some negativities there, but there are also some really good positives that make up for the negative stuff. I also had some trades in on the pound CAD, but those actually closed out much earlier, and that was a setup that I mentioned early in that video. I didn't like these trades as much, or this entry, this 2-bar inside candle entry, because it didn't make a new high. I like when it makes a new high, breaks the previous high, because that means that there is more of a likelihood for a pullback. This one is not bad, but it means that this resistance up here could be holding. If I see a inside candle set up here, it means that there's potential for this to push down further, and that the resistance up here is holding. That wasn't the case here. It did end up pushing back down a little bit and then jumping back up. It had an additional pullback before it launched up. Luckily, my 3 entries had enough of a profit to close out right before, or right near the bottom of the move before the push back up. So I got a little bit lucky here, but that's what my expert advisor is looking for. It's looking for these pullbacks right here and here. This one wasn't big enough, but this one was big enough because I had the 3 orders in to close out in profit, 50 pips to be exact. It was about 50 pips profit that I took here, and moved on to the next opportunity. So at this point, I did have the 5 trades in on the Aussie CAD and the NZD CAD, but as I mentioned, the NZD CAD was able to pull me out of the drawdown on the Aussie CAD, and I was able to close all the trades out in a positive, profitable basket. And so that's what my system looks for. It looks for those pullbacks because it knows that once I have the entry and I didn't get that pullback, it went down a little bit right there, shot back up, but that doesn't mean it's over. That means that we're definitely bound for, or due for a pullback in the market after such a large push, and it was continued even before that. that did happen. That pullback happened. There may be a time that I don't get that pullback, but that's why I have used the risk that I do, so I can enter multiple trades. Have 5 trades in this case, but I can have much more because my risk allows me to do so. And how do I know how many trades it takes for a typical pullback? Is because I've done 10 years of testing to find out how many how many trades can I have in on a basket. How many trades does it typically take for that basket of trades to get that pullback and to pull into profit? And all those things are very calculated. Just like a typical basket on the NZD CAD is, not more than 5 trades. If it becomes more than 5 trades, then that's something that's a little bit different. It's a higher basket trade amount. But I'm still able to handle that. I'm able to handle more than 20 trades. I think I'm able to handle about 30 potential trades before it comes to the point where I'm running out of margin and the drawdown is starting to get a bit too high, that I'm probably going to have to pull out for a loss and accept that I have too many trades in, I'm running out of margin. It's time to give up on this particular basket because it's at this point not working, and so I can't hold on to something too long, otherwise it becomes too much of an issue. So that's what I've done with my testing, is to find out what the typical basket amount, what's the highest, what's the lowest, and base my stats and my risk off of that. That's something that you guys should do as well, and that's why testing a strategy or a system is so important, is so you can get these numbers. If you're a trend trader, how many losses does it take for one of your wins to make up? What are the stats? Do you have 1 win to 10 losses? Is your 1 loss 100 pips? Is your 1 win 100 pips and your 10 losses 10 pips? And you have to try to figure out the math and make sure that it works so you are able to come out as a positive trader. Okay, so moving on to what happened after the 12 trades. A very nice 2-bar setup on the pullback here. So pushed back down, made a new low right at this point, broke the previous inside candle right after that, entry, pop up, 60 pips total profit, and closed out 1 single trade. These are the nice, beautiful trades that happen. I don't even need an expert advisor that knows where the support resistance points are, because I have the RMI that does the overbought, oversold, and the 2-bar candle setup with the inside candle that automatically shows me where the support and resistance is based on price action, based on the candlesticks themselves. Okay, so that was the NZD CAD trade, and I don't think I had any trades on the Aussie CAD. You can see that this one was above the 70 right here, but it wasn't quite a good enough setup, and I'm glad I didn't take it because it still continued back up. So the expert advisor was right in not taking that position. I did have quite a few other pound CAD trades that happened over the course of the last 11 days. Inside candle set up there. And this was a two trade setup. Exit here, so exit what happened here. 2 trades were 20 pips apart. 50 pips profit there. Another entry after the pullback down, and it was a good spot where there was already some built-in support. And a 2-bar setup for an inside candle right there. Entry in the next bar. One trade, 50 pips profit again, and exit. Okay, so right after that profit on the buy trade, let me zoom in. I had a short position after a 2-bar setup, inside candle setup, and this one had the trade number 1, trade number 2, and then 3 but then a nice pullback after 3, giving me another 50 pips profit. So a lot of trades on the pound CAD in that span, which was great because it was a very ranging market. Down, down, and then up again. And so my expert advisor was pretty close in getting those peaks. I only had a total of 3 trades, which is pretty low in my opinion. But there was a small pullback even on the second trade. There was one here. It was probably pretty close to taking profit at the bottom here, but needed a third position. Came back to the same level, and then that's when it took profit. So really like my expert advisor a lot, and I think that it's going to continue to show some really profitable trading because it's based on the candlesticks and what the candlesticks are showing me about price action and the volume, the flow of price, and when the push in one direction starts to slow, I am able to visualize and see on the chart when that's actually happening. And sometimes we'll get to a point where we think that's going to happen, where it pushes up. We think that, and then there's a place in the market where there could be a potential pullback. It doesn't quite happen on that first trade, but 20 pips later, on the second position, it does happen and it pushes down. So the pullback, we might not be exactly right on the first entry, but eventually that initial entry idea will follow through at some point, and it just takes a bit of time. Okay, so haven't had any trades over the past couple days, and it's been pretty quiet, and that's fine. I'm just waiting for my expert advisor, just waiting for the right moment. So what's happening in the future with my Forex trading? Since I have been only giving updates every week or two, I plan on doing more updates and getting a lot more into Forex trading, hopefully in about a week. I have invested in a ICO, crypto ICO, means that before it's a new cryptocurrency that's coming out that hasn't yet been released to the market, and you have a chance to get in early before it reaches public. It's basically kind of like a penny stock, where it's really cheap in the very beginning, and it has potential to blow up once it hits the market and people jump on, and that penny stock turns in from 2 cents into 100 cents into $1 in a matter of a couple of days. So it's a little bit of a gamble, and I'm still looking at cryptocurrency funding my Forex trading accounts, but it is a bit risky, and I understand that, but I have done very well with it so far, turning $800 into $12,000, and that $12,000, I'm hoping, now guys, I know I'm hoping that it will be by the 27th or 28th, my $12,000 could be $50K at that point. Actually, excuse me, $100K at that point, but I'll be taking only half of it out. It is a gamble, and I know that ICOs are, because they're something that's very new, it could be gone, but it's a risk that I'm willing to take here, and once that is finalized on the 27th or 28th of this month, then I will put all the majority of the funds into a personal trading account at Trader's Way, where you see this $1,280. It will likely be around $40,000 to $50,000 if things work out on the 27th or 28th of January. And I will have a completely funded account that will be sustainable over the longer term. I'll have an income over it, and I'll be able to live off of that large of an account. And using my Forex trading strategy that I've been talking about with you today. So I have a very solid vehicle, long-term vehicle, that I'm just looking to get a good amount of money into, so I can make it sustainable. But I have taken some risk when it comes to cryptocurrency, and I don't talk about it much in my Forex videos, but I thought that I should mention that because it could be a big step. And if that does happen, and I do transfer the 50 or 40 or whatever it is a good amount of money into this Forex account that you see here, you'll be seeing more updates probably every couple of days, and I'll talk about the emotions, a lot more than just giving you updates on what's going on. I will talk about the emotions involved with Forex trading, how to develop systems, where are the best places to do it, why what I'm doing is working, all this kind of stuff. So hopefully it can get you excited about learning new ideas in the future by following what I'm, I guess, talking about in my videos. All right. So I recommend you guys continue to do your research when it comes to trading. That if you're doing something or a thought comes to your mind that nobody's talked about in Forex trading, you should explore that. If you find a system online that somebody says is 95% accurate, that's probably false. Most likely, if you did the opposite of what that person is telling you how to trade that system, most likely you'll probably come out more profitable. And that is something that's not really a rumor anymore. If you trade the opposite of everybody else, most likely you'll come out the winner because the majority loses. So that's how I went into developing my system, was to do something that other people were not. So I'll continue to talk about that in future videos. So hopefully on the 27th or 28th of this month, which is probably next time I'll give you guys an update, I'll come back and say, guys, my crypto trading worked out. I'm now done with crypto trading. That is now put aside, and the reason why crypto trading will be done is because I told you guys that as long as it was a bull market, that I would stay in. And at this point, it's becoming there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to crypto trading. I don't think it's going to die. No, I don't think crypto trading is done. But I do think that it's going through some growing pains. It's going to change patterns. It's not necessarily a bull market anymore because of all the fear that's sinking in, that this market can hurt you. It's not always going to keep growing and have its massive growth spurt that's been going on for the last couple of years. And so reality is sinking in, and I don't want to be a part of that. I want to take my profits and run, and so that's what the plan is, and hopefully it works for me, and I have to just wait another week. So I'll keep you guys posted on that, and until then, have a great week and happy trading.